Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of our 30 and Nerdy podcast series. For 30andnerdy.com, I'm Matt.
And I'm Gina.
And it is 1 o'clock in the morning. We just got back from seeing Chappie. Yeah, so we're just going to do this. This is going to be our Chappie review conversation.
I think is more
it's
appropriate.
A conversation.
We're gonna spend the first good chunk not spoiling anything, but we probably will delve into it later on. So I would say watch out for us saying spoilers, just in case you are anticipating this movie.
I think just right off the bat, seriously, because we're fine. We're checking the audio levels. We're good. Okay, so Chappie, should we start with what Chappie is about or what we thought it was going to be about?
What did you think Chappie was going to be about?
I thought Chappie was going to be a really great Neil Blomkamp film about a robot that gains a level of artificial intelligence that becomes sentient, that becomes essentially human, you know? Oh man, I don't even know what we got.
I felt the same way.
What did you think? I thought the movie, I knew the movie was going to have some action sequences and whatnot, but overall I thought it was going to be a film that kind of explored the morality behind creating, AI and
exactly. Yes, I thought I felt much the same way, in where we were going to discover, there's a robot who has become sentient, and society figuring out what to do with that, if it's right, if they should continue it, if it's hurting the AI itself, what can it can evolve into. I can't even speak, but that's not really anything that it was about.
Yeah. So okay, spoilers. This is all going to be spoiler territory. I'm sorry. Because I got to get off my chest.
I know, but let's hold off for a little bit at least.
I did not like this movie at all.
Okay. Overall, I pretty much agreed. Yeah. Was not a fan of it.
And we were so excited for it. We were excited for it based on the trailer, based on Blomkamp's reputation with District 9 and Elysium. Elysium we even held off on seeing until just recently because we didn't like the idea of Matt Damon being in it. And so we ended up renting it, and I saw how the movie had its little Hollywood action film garbagey kind of side to it compared to District 9, but overall I thought there was some heart there. I thought he was trying to tackle certain any issues of inequality and things like that. And I liked Chappie even less than Elysium, which I didn't like as much as District 9. It is his worst film by far, in my opinion. Yeah,
Elysium, I was surprised how much I liked it. I think because I had such low standards of it, I was not expecting anything, and it came out to be an enjoyable movie. Yeah. It was not great by any standards. Right. It was not amazing. I didn't think it was as great as District 9. But I enjoyed it. It was like, oh, okay, that was a decent film. It was fun. Stuff got, blown up, but it was also, a little touchy. And I like you said, inequality. And so it came out to be a decent film. Mm-hmm. Whereas Chappie, I felt, was just all over the place. Yeah. It was not solid. It was not, it unraveled. I think about halfway through the film, I feel like the storyline just kind of shot out into 3 or 4 different directions. It didn't have a good hold. It didn't know where it was going. Yeah. And so you just kind of felt like, well, I guess I'll just kind of go with it. Yeah. But it didn't hold up.
So what the film ends up being about, still, I guess, without spoiling anything, is it's about, so Chappie is this AI that a guy working for kind of this military police robot manufacturing corporation, he finishes this AI system that he's been working on for a long time, and he starts off as just kind of like a generic police robot who... Did
you just say Scrappy? I'm sorry.
Scrappy? Chappie instead of Chappie? It's so late, I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, so they were going to scrap him.
Yes.
Because he was just a regular police robot that, he just gets beat up every single time he goes out into the field, right? And so instead of getting scrapped, this engineer, this artificial intelligence engineer, decides to put his program into what becomes Chappie. And then there's also like this, what would you call them? They're hoodlums.
Yes.
This band of hoodlums, played by Ninja and the woman of
Yolandi
of the South African group D'Antwoord. I believe it's pronounced D'Antwoord. I don't know how you'd say it with their accent, but anyways, those two are in this film. And they owe some guy a bunch of money, and the robots are giving them trouble, and so they hijack the guy and they get Chappie, and then they're trying to teach Chappie how to be a thug, and the artificial intelligence maker guy is trying to tell Chappie, like, no, you can be an artist if you want. It's just like, oh, like...
Yeah, you were excited that these musicians were going to be
I
in
thought
the film.
it was cool. I thought they were going to bring like this level of kind of like heart to the film, like like a genuineness, that they were going to help ground it in reality. And I forgot how weird they are.
I have never heard of them. I had no idea who they were. You were excited about it, but their characters were just so completely generic, and the guy Ninja, his character was annoying from beginning to end. I could not get into it. I didn't care what he had to say. He was very one-dimensional. It just it's like they caved and they thought, okay, as long as there's a lot of bullets and a lot of shooting and a lot of cursing and a lot of lame stereotypical gangster jokes, then it'll be good. We can just toss that in there and be good. And it was a mess. There was just stuff everywhere, and it didn't meld together. And the only thing that I cared about in that whole movie was Chappie.
Yes. Oh, but Chappie and the performance. What's his name? Is his name?
I forget, the guy who did the animation for it, or
it was the main guy in District 9. He was the bad guy in Elysium. I forget his name. His name's like Charlotte something.
Charlotte Copley, something
like that. Yeah. And I thought it was funny when we were leaving the theater, and I told you that, like, no, that's D'Antwoord in real life. Like, that's just like
not them acting.
That's their personalities and I mean, who knows how much they play up. I'm pretty sure they don't play up themselves that much in, like, even in their music videos and they make like short films, like, as part of like their culture of like their music videos, and just that scene that they've helped like nurture out there in like South Africa and stuff like that. And that's just what I've seen of them in their music videos, in their performances, in their short films that they've made. This is them just in a feature-length film. Like,
more of them.
Yeah. They're just like two really effed up artists who are weird, but the thing that's fascinating about them, at least my perception from my point of view, is just they seem like they do like genuinely just like love each other, despite like how fucked up they are.
They're together,
yeah.
I'll have to check them out. I've never heard of them. Didn't really. When you explained a little bit of them, I didn't really have an interest. But after seeing this, I want to see how much acting they did or did not put into this.
I kind of want to record your reactions to this, to when you see, because you don't like them in the movies, so you're not going to like them in real life.
They're
That's
annoying.
them.
The girl Yolandi, she has moments where it's like, okay, you're trying to understand her. She's trying to be compassionate. She's trying to be mature.
She's mommy.
She is. She's mommy.
Chappie's mommy.
But again, it doesn't work. Like, it's not. They really try to like force it on you, I feel. And it's not. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Dev Patel, who plays the creator, who plays Dion. He was okay. Like,
Who is he? Do you know him?
He's the main guy from Slumdog Millionaire.
That is him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
and
what I thought. That's what I thought.
Zuko in Last Airbender, the live action.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and exactly. Again,
now I want to watch that movie even more.
But see, again, he's probably the only one in that movie that kind of holds any of his own weight. Like, so in this one, because Hugh Jackman was terrible. Like,
he was one-dimensional.
Yeah, but he played a good one-dimensional character, but the character sucked.
Yeah.
So I can't really fault Hugh Jackman for it. And Sigourney Weaver too, just not, again,
just a one-dimensional character,
sucked.
Did fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They portrayed the crappy characters that they were given. And so Dev Patel's the only one who kind of really held himself together, sort of, Other than that, it's just...
he was still a one-dimensional character.
Yeah, very much so.
The only three-dimensional character in this entire film was Chappie.
Yeah, but then even still, it was so limited. Because, okay, so I guess we're going to get into more spoilers right now. So if you haven't watched it and you're going to watch it...
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, we're going to go into spoiler territory, but know that we're not recommending this movie.
No, not at all. If you want a bullet-filled, curse-filled action movie with not a lot of intellect, and you're going to go for the fun of it just to enjoy as a Hollywood movie, yeah, sure, go on. But if you are looking for
like if you're
looking for a District 9 sequel or something to, justify it or, continue on that tradition. This is not it. Not at all.
Yeah.
So, all right. You want to start?
Everything's fair game, yeah. So we're saying the entire movie unraveled, right?
Yeah, so even Chappie was not as three-dimensional as I would have expected. Like they talk so much about how, he's this AI and he has such great potential and he's going to learn leaps and bounds beyond people and he's going to become so much smarter than people.
Tagline? The savior of humanity? Is that the tagline of the film?
Yeah, the hero of humanity isn't human. And so, but going back to what I was saying about his intelligence, like they talk about how he's going to get so smart and how he is going to start off like a child and he has to grow and develop and you have to nurture him like a child would. So he doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't really understand anything around him, but he will learn very quickly. And so within the first few minutes of you seeing this, yes, he learns fast. So it's, okay, he's learning how to talk and he's learning how to communicate and they're teaching him funny little things and he starts mimicking the people around him. And then that's it. It plateaus. Like there is never another jump in that intelligence that they were talking about. There's never that next leap of, oh my God, he's becoming... he becomes like aware of himself, but it's still so naive and innocent. He never jumps again. And I felt like, well, that kind of left us hanging. They kept talking so much about how he's going to become so smart in this, and it just kind of dragged.
I have a question for you about that, just to kind of, our Data, our dog, he's chewing on a pig hoof.
And it smells.
Which always kind of weirds me out as a vegetarian that like our dog is just eating a pig's hoof. But whatever, he's a dog. And it stinks.
But we're awake and he's bored, so.
Yeah. About him not making another jump in his intelligence level until he magically plugs himself into the internet using 10 PlayStation 4s.
Sony plug-in.
Horrible product placement in this film between PlayStation and Red Bull. And was there anything else?
I was gonna say Chrysler, but that was Better Call Saul. No, not that I can think
Even
of.
Even that Chrysler one in Better Call Saul
was so obvious, wasn't it?
But it was charming because of my. Anyways,
Mike. Okay, sorry, got back to Chappie.
I was gonna say because like Chappie at a certain point, very early on, was like raised by thugs. We'll say to put it simply.
No, that's perfect. Thugs.
Right. And so then I was trying to think like, do you think that was Blomkamp saying like this lifestyle, kind of like if that's the lifestyle that you choose is like a life of crime and drugs and I'll say ghetto-ness, that your intelligence level will plateau? Like, do you think he's saying anything in regards to that?
Maybe. I felt more like it was like, it's the cycle when you're born into it, because they keep referring to Chappie as a child. So Yolandi's mommy, she declares herself mommy, and Ninja's daddy, and that's what he refers to them as, mommy, daddy, and Chappie's a child. And they keep reiterating that he's just a child. Don't teach him how to use guns. Don't teach him this. He's just a child. And so it's like that cycle. Like if that kid is born into that environment, that's what he's stuck with. That's what you're going to just have over and over again until you break that cycle somehow, until one generation realizes, hey, maybe we shouldn't be teaching our kids how to use drugs or curse so much or not go to school or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was in ways subtle and ways overdone. It's kind of weird.
The thing that I thought was interesting also is that we don't have kids or anything, but like I said, we've got our dog who's like 2 years old now, is that Chappie... I mean, to me, and maybe this is based on like my perspective, but he didn't come off as a kid to me. He came off like a dog. Like, especially when he hit that, I'll say, age where he just wants to learn really fast and he just wants to please and he just wants to make you happy and he just wants to be your friend. Yeah. It reminded me of like Data, about how he's like, oh, like I'll sit for you and I'll lay down and just give me treats and I'll sit pretty. Aww. And look at me, I know how to play with the ball now.
I can fetch it.
Yeah, and like kids, I mean, I don't know that much about kids, but kids aren't really like that. That's not how they learn. That's not.
If you give them a cookie, I'm sure that's how they'll
really?
act.
Kids
yeah. They're kind of like that.
Okay,
you reward. It's the reward system.
They want to win at the science fair and do good at karate class and like and
the more positive reinforcement, the more you praise them, they're like, oh yeah, okay. So I get that. In a way, like I said, that had not developed. They didn't develop that part of him, and I was waiting for it, and it just never came. So
yeah.
But yeah, anyways, the end of the movie unravels into just like this shootout among several thuggy, one-dimensional characters that you never care about. I never did. I don't like... The people I wanted to die didn't die. And
that one guy, the Hispanic character from Walking Dead that was also in Elysium, that I kind of like him. Something about him. He's got a lot of charisma.
Because he was not as ghetto as Ninja. Yeah. He was just kind of laid back, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm pretty gangster and thuggish, but I'm not going to talk like you. I'm not going to walk like you.
Were they calling him America?
America, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, but their accents were thick, so I was like, I think that's what they're saying.
I know, you didn't understand half the things they were saying. It was so thick. They subtitled
it sometimes.
They subtitled one of the thugs because it was so thick. They knew you weren't going to understand it.
Yeah, so. You just nod your head at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, America, I thought he was, like going back to like being one-dimensional. It wasn't until like 3/4 of the way through the film, or maybe like 5 minutes before he got like torn in half, where he was like, I'm going to be able to go back home. You're like, oh, okay, you're a thug here who's trying to like get enough money to go back to America. Yeah. Like, okay, cool, some dimension, and now you're dead.
Yeah, that was one little part where I was like, oh, hey, cool. They do kind of give him some sort of background, some sort of character. And so, adding on to that, there are several parts of the movie I felt that were tragic and that were heartbreaking and were heartwarming. There were several moments where like I got teary-eyed and I got sad and emotional, but it couldn't carry the film. So there were a lot of parts that I enjoyed on a singular basis where this shot was good, this scene was good, this part I felt sad, this was, a little heartbreaking and tragic, and I felt, touched by Chappie's emotions or whatnot. But it ended very early on in the film. You never get it back.
Your emotional ties?
Yeah.
Like you're feeling, same
exactly.
Same here.
So like you feel it a little bit, but then it goes away because they don't revisit it. They don't reinforce it.
Yeah.
And nobody else has it. So it's not enough to carry the film.
Yeah, I was touched by when Chappie is initially activated and the Maker's still there before they shoo him away, which I thought was like really stupid. I would have liked the whole movie to be about like them all. This is gonna sound really cheesy and lame, but I would have liked a plot scenario where the Maker was allowed to stay there and actually help them teach Chappie and kind of like it would have been more of like a matching of cultures, where like the Maker's there and he's super educated and like Ninja and what's her name, Yolandi. Yeah, like they're there and they're more. I'm just gonna use the word ghetto because it just sums it up.
Fits.
Yeah, and they're ghetto, and so it's this mashing of cultures, and so Chappie ends up with this like very diverse like personality pool to like draw from and kind of like, what end up shaping up. But like, no, like Ninja's got to be like, get out of here, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. Just so annoying.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. And so what I was going to say during those initial moments when Chappie's activated and he's kind of afraid, and like I said, and he has his dog moments where he just wants to, Chappie wants to please Chappie, like the way he talks and he uses his own name and stuff like that. Just like seeing him come to life touched me like a little bit, and I was like, oh man, this is like a really emotional journey. And like you said, they kill it so fast.
Yeah, they
turns into a stupid action movie.
They turn Chappie into like their machine where they're teaching him how to shoot, and then he doesn't want to shoot because it's dangerous, and he promised he would, and so they teach him how to use knives and ninja stars, and so he's like uses those to like put people to sleep. And stabbing them with them and whatnot, and he just becomes like they want him to talk like them and walk like them. So he walks with like a little limpy strut. He has gangster talk. He brushes his nose a lot, like when he's talking to you, which is cute at first, but then it's like, okay.
Some of the stuff they teach him, some of the ghetto stuff they teach him is funny,
Yeah, it's cute at first and funny, but then after a while, it's like, oh god, like they don't move away from it. They don't keep developing. They just kind of stick with it, and then.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end, like, there's a scene where he uses those ninja stars on, like, the police officer, and he's like, so the police officers are, like, bleeding in the middle of the shootout, and he's, like, telling him, like, oh, I'm sorry, like, don't kill me, and, like, Chappie's like, oh, you're just supposed to go to sleep,
Yeah.
And it's like, if they would have played that kind of stuff up a little bit more, it's like they almost brought it back.
It lasted, like, 5 seconds.
Yeah, there was that scene where, for some reason, and I felt like they weren't, like, clarifying it very well, like, Ninja's like, here, Chappie, I'm just gonna dump you here because you're useless to me.
I didn't get that part either. I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, like, we have the only police robot with this kind of AI in the entire world here, and I'm going to dump him to get beat up by thugs because
it's the real world. You're going to learn.
Idiot.
Yeah, I was like,
and so they beat him up, and like Chappie's getting like beat on by these like gang members and stuff like that, and he's trying to tell him like, no, I'm sorry, I have feelings, and this and that, and like the situation, that the fact that like Chappie got dumped there was like really, really stupid, and so I was like conflicted between being angry at like the movie for just putting him in just like a stupid scenario to try to toy with my emotions because it worked, because I was feeling sorry for him while he was getting beat on, and at the same time I was like, this doesn't necessarily make sense. Why they didn't, or if it made sense to Blomkamp, he didn't do a good job of explaining why Ninja dumped him there.
Yeah, some scene got cut somewhere.
Flew over my head, maybe I'm just like...
So for me, that scene was either one of two things. It was either him literally trying to get rid of him because he thought he was annoying. He didn't think he was a good weapon. He's like, well, we had to teach him how to like talk and walk and all that stuff. He was more of a burden.
Yeah.
Or two, he wanted to toughen him up and just figure, okay, he'll go learn some real world knowledge and then come back to us and he'll be tough and he'll be ready and we can go and blow up something or rob this bank or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But it just, it didn't come off well. It was not, how do you say, when it wasn't introduced well. It wasn't, it was bizarre.
And so then at a certain point in the film, like Chappie realizes that, so one of the things here that you learn early on in the film is that Chappie's lifespan is incredibly limited. It's gonna, the batteries are gonna die on him.
And they can't be replaced.
Yeah, because they get fused to his body in an accident, his fuel cells or whatever. So he's gonna die in like 5 days. And I think going into the movie, I kind of assumed that they were going to try to do a thing, that they were going to make us try to love this character and then they were going to take him away from us.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of prepared for that to happen. And actually, that doesn't end up being what happens. They find a way around it. But the thing that they find a way around it is just like all of a sudden, like, okay, I can buy this idea of we can figure out a way to transfer Chappie's consciousness into another robot. Totally makes sense to me. But before that even happens, they transfer a human's consciousness into a robot body, like minutes before. And it totally, not only did it not make sense, not only was the explanation for it rushed and just like poorly put together, but then it totally, like they could have had this scenario where like in the end, like they are able to transfer Chappie and like we're all like, oh wow, cool, they did it. And it just, they totally fumbled the whole thing. They spent, also I was telling Gina in the car on the way home, we try not to talk about this like too much ahead of time because we want to have this kind of fuel for the fire on the podcast, but Chappie, Yolandi spends a moment or two in the middle of the movie trying to explain to Chappie what being a black sheep is and how that really what makes us individuals is our soul and our heart. And that it doesn't have to do with like the, the ones and zeros going through our head, like literally in Chappie's case, or kind of like figuratively, if you look at a human as like our brains versus our hearts and our spirits and our souls. And then in the end of the movie, they just like, they literally transfer the doctor or the AI engineer guy's like consciousness from his brain and put him into a robot, thus totally what was the word that
contradicting.
I used? Yeah, they're contradicting like the whole middle of the movie by like ignoring the whole concept of like a soul and just being like, oh, we are just ones and zeros. He exists in this robot now all of a sudden with no explanation. And then like in the end of the movie, Chappie hacks into the military manufacturing organization. No, you know what? They don't even say that he hacks in.
No,
he logs in.
Yeah, he logs because of course his username still works.
Yeah.
Why would they? I guess because they think he's dead, but whatever.
Yolandi dies and they put her consciousness in robots that all of a sudden off the assembly line look like her with no authorization or anything. It's
new
just
design. He uploads a new design. It's like, it's just, what's weird is that in that whole scenario, so like they try to show you that, okay, they transfer the consciousness from a person to a robot and they do it from a robot to a robot. And so they present you with these two different methods. And what's funny is that depending on how you approach it, you can make it seem like one of them can work, but not both of them. Because like you said, they were specifically saying, oh, it's a consciousness. You can't move a consciousness. It doesn't work that way. And so if that were true, you couldn't do the person, but you should be able to do the robot. Now, if it's the other way where it is just data and it's ones and zeros and whatnot, then you should be able to do the robot because it technically is data. You shouldn't be able to do the person. So it's like they made it seem like, oh, well, it can be, it can't be, it may be, it might be. Oh, it works for both of you now. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Oh, and we're going to do it on somebody who already died?
Yeah.
Like, that didn't make sense because all of a sudden...
None of it makes sense.
No, all of a sudden, okay, so... When the maker, Dev Patel's character, Dion, when his consciousness gets transferred, his body goes lifeless immediately. When Chappie gets transferred, his robot body goes lifeless immediately. It transfers, uploads, woohoo, their new bodies are up and down. So, at some point in the middle of the film, when we're not looking, Yolandi gets the neural thing on her, and Chappie transfers her consciousness, but one, you don't know it. Two, she's still alive. It didn't drop. Her body didn't drop. He didn't, but somehow he saved it onto the 10 PlayStations they had, uploaded it to a backup USB drive that probably has got like a gig of space on it or whatnot.
Right.
But she's still fine. So how is it they transferred theirs and it left their body, but hers, he's got a backup of it, but it's still in her brain too. And I said, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how did that work? And then it's like, I really wish one of them had died because it would have been that much more heartfelt.
You mean either Chappie or the
maker? Yeah, exactly. And it's like, nope, they're both alive. They both live happily ever after. Nobody's going after them. Nobody's chasing them. Nobody's going to think it's weird. The only 2 robots left in the city are still walking around. It just doesn't, unraveled.
The movie was just a pile of garbage by the end. I'm sorry, Blomkamp. And then, but okay, and here's the other thing that always weirds us out, right? Like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody likes different films and wants different things out of sci-fi and action and stuff like that. We're sitting in one of those movies. It was a thin crowd in the theater because it was a late showing.
Like 10 of us
on a Thursday night. But everyone clapping and hooting and hollering when Hugh Jackman's character was getting the crap kicked out of him by Chappie in the end.
I like that part.
Yeah. He had it coming, right? It was kind of fun. But I just like overall, it was like the credits started rolling and there were the people like clapping and I was just like, what?
Why are you clapping?
Did we just watch the same film? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. Are you high or did you come in halfway through it?
I know, right? Yeah.
I just, no. The few moments in there that I enjoyed do not make up for the rest of the sorrow that it put me through.
Yeah.
So
no, like I was saying, I feel like you can distill this film to a very touching, like 15 minutes. Like there might be 15 minutes.
It should have been a short film.
Yeah. Where they, explore these kinds of things, and Chappie becomes fascinated with the idea of his own mortality and his batteries running out. It had its moments where they started touching on that stuff.
I know, and I felt like people discovering him would have happened much sooner on in the film. I thought that would have been like a midpoint, and the second half of the film would be more about, okay, how do we deal with this? Is this okay that we're doing it? Is it right? Should we be doing it? Should we make more of them? And it didn't. It was like the last 20 minutes, and they didn't even delve into that topic. It was just like, nope, kill him.
This is going to be a side note just because it just popped into my head because of how ridiculous it was, and I think some people in the theater started laughing. Like I said, I rolled my eyes through 3/4 of this film, but what about that scene where Hugh Jackman's character confronts the maker in the office and slams his head down on the desk and puts the gun to his head, and then afterwards just like, just a prank, I'm just joking. I'm just like, what?
He has a gun in his hand in an office, just
like
a
we
joke,
get that
look.
Johannesburg's tough. It's a rough place to live, at least this portrayal of it. I don't know what it's like in real life, South Africa, but yeah, it was just like the movie, it was just like, that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, this movie's a joke.
Yeah.
This movie's not even taking itself seriously anymore. Like,
he's like, yeah, I got a gun, I'm just joking, they're blanks. It's like, why do you have a gun in an office? And no one does anything. No one calls police, no one calls security, no one says you shouldn't be doing it. It's just, I'm just going back to my desk, and just goes back working. I'm like, what?
Between the product placement, the unraveling of the film, the stuff,
the language, and the heavy accents that you can understand. And
I didn't know who was directing who and who wrote what and like how many. It's
like there was 3 different endings that they all wanted to accomplish. They wanted all 3 of their endings to happen.
Part of me wonders if, because I think that Ninja, and I don't know if her name's Yolandi in real life or whatever her name is. Is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, also? Okay. Part of me wonders how it was working with them, and if it wasn't this type of film where they actually had a lot of input. I had been but kind of like skimming across a couple articles online that were saying that they actually had a lot of input as far as like the design of the character Chappie is concerned and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool and really interesting. But I wonder if they're those types of people where, like, I wonder if Blomkamp couldn't control them. You know what I mean? Like, you're filming a movie with, like, D'Antwoord, and they're like, oh, well, what if we did this? Or what if this happened? Or what if he did that? And it was just too much direction coming from 2 different angles versus Blomkamp being able to be like, look, I realize you guys are, like, really big underground, like, hip-hop artists and stuff like that, but, like, this is my film. Like, it almost felt like this film was too many people's films. If that makes sense,
Yeah, Too many people's visions.
Yes, yeah. And it suffered for it, and it does. It feels like 6 different movies all rolled up into one.
Yep. So if you didn't get from all this, we didn't like it, and we don't recommend it.
No, yeah. Do you even recommend it on, like, renting it on demand one day just to see those moments with Chappie, because I'm afraid of even recommending it on that level on the basis of like wasting 90 minutes or however long it is of like somebody's life, minus the 15 minutes that are golden inside the film. You have to cut through a lot of bullshit to get to them.
If you approach it knowing that it is not going to be an intellectual film, that you are going to enjoy the battle scenes and the gunfights and the thuggy language, if you know that's in it and you want to just be able to enjoy it as a fun, non-thinking kind of movie, you just want to be able to sit there and absorb entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Damn.
But do not watch this thinking that you are going to get a very deep story out of it, because you're not.
Yeah.
I didn't. So.
See, here's why I told. Okay, yeah, we can overall recommend it on that level, But I think the thing that contradicts that is, like, for example, you and I went to go see The Expendables 2. Knowing that it was going to be a dumb action movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the movie was stupid and we loved it.
But we enjoyed it for what it was, what it was trying to be.
But because there weren't these nuggets of like this, like the level of heart that Chappie has in those moments where you realize that this movie could have been something so much more. Yeah. I feel like it's because those moments exist in the film and it's not entirely dumb that it breaks my heart.
It makes it awkward.
And that's why I will never watch it again.
Yeah.
Because of how much potential are in those nuggets inside the film. Like, it's heartbreaking of how much of a train wreck it ended up being.
It made the progression awkward. It made it not smooth, not consistent. It was like highs and lows and ups and downs and stalls. So yeah, I agree with you. I have no reason to ever watch it again. There is enough. If there's some kind of crazy, cool behind the scenes documentary that shows why it fell apart, absolutely, I would go for it. But there's no reason to ever come across it again.
Yeah, it's like you said, got to watch District 9 again just to double check and make sure it's actually still a good film, because I remember loving it, and I feel like Blomkamp got lucky with it, or has entered a point in his life where he's kind of like too. Like, I almost feel like District 9 was made outside of like that grasp of like Hollywood that seems to just produce garbage film after garbage film. And like District 9 existed outside of that, but now Elysium and this just exist in that horrible typhoon of crappy Hollywood movies. And
to reiterate what you had mentioned earlier, was holding out hope that his participation in the next Alien is not completely overwhelmed by his desire to please dumb Americans.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. It felt like District 9 was like an intelligent sci-fi action film. Sci-fi film first with like action elements in the end, and this was like the opposite. It was hardly anything intelligent about it, and he directed it for like the lowest common denominator, like people who enjoy sitting in movie theaters and like not having to think, which is not really. We kind of want something more. Like, I really do want to go see Birdman now, just to just see something different and hopefully stimulating on many levels. Anyways, we need to go before we start to beat a dead horse on this one.
Exactly.
Before we sound any more like I feel bad. Like, I'm sorry if I sound tired. Like, I am. I'm tired and I'm worn out from this experience. Yeah. It was. I wanted the movie to be so great, and it just was not at all.
We could ramble on about this all night, but. I think we'll leave it off there.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so for 30andnerdy.com, I'm Matt.
I'm Gina.
And you can reach us on Twitter at 30andnerdy. We got 30andnerdy.com. We got our Etsy shop. We've got Facebook.
Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr.
YouTube. Like, we are all over the internet. Just like, subscribe, share, wherever you can.
Tell us something.
Yeah, and seriously, whether you're listening to this on SoundCloud, on YouTube, or on 30andnerdy.com, if you saw Chappie and you loved it or you didn't like it, or, like, comment to us, like, let us know, like, let's talk about this film, let's talk about what worked and what didn't work, and if you love the film for all the reasons that we didn't like it, like, we still, like, we want to hear that side of it. That's what Gina and I were saying, like, I told her on the ride home that I almost was not worried, but I thought that she was going to end up liking the film a little bit more than I did, just because we do that thing when we're watching movies together where if something happens, we'll like turn and look at the other person, just to see if we had a similar reaction. And I thought that she was still turning to look at me a few times when I had given up on the film. I'm like, and I was like, wow, if you enjoyed this, like,
we need to rethink our relationship.
you were like, would you have been okay with that? I would have been like, yeah, of course. But I would want to know why. So if you loved this film, we want to know. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, if you saw stuff we didn't, or somehow you were a part of something we weren't, let us know.
Yeah. So, and let us know about the Antwoord.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Have a good night.
Later.
Day. Bye.
Bye.